recording. Hi guys, this is Federal Prison Talk. I'm Sean. This is Deborah. Before I introduce Deborah, watch this little clip that they did on a local news channel, and then we'll be right back for an exclusive interview with Deborah Orler.
Well, in the Bay Area, there are so many people willing to help others, and each person really has a different reason for why they're lending a hand.
For one Peninsula woman, the reason she helps the homeless is deeply personal. In fact, it's a story of life and death. Garvin Thomas shares her remarkable journey in tonight's Bay Area Proud.
Janelle, Jessica, you guys know I've been at this a while, right? Well, in all that time, I can't recall another person I've met who has been through as much as Deborah Orler. At one point during our interview, I just stopped and asked her, how is she still alive? She laughed and said, there's a reason. Then showed me what it was.
So here's the washcloth.
The phrase getting clean has more than one meaning. There is, of course, what folks will do with the soaps, socks, and shampoo that Deborah Orler and her team are putting into bags to hand out to those living on the streets.
So 50 and 40, that's 90.
Now, just why Deborah has spent her Saturdays for the past 10 years doing this? Well, that has everything to do with the other kind of getting clean.
Recovery. Recovery changes your life.
Deborah smoked her first joint when she was just 8 years old. What followed were decades of addiction and abuse, of time spent in foster care and prison cells. Deborah was well into her 40s by the time she finally broke the cycle. These hygiene kits, her way of making up for lost years.
This is what we're put on this earth to do. We're not put here to take. We're put here to give.
It was, Deborah says, a second chance at life. But not, it turns out, her last. On this day, she's planning to hand out hundreds of sleeping bags. Once again, coming back from hard times.
I was on life support a year ago, and I almost didn't make it. And so, you know, this is my way of saying thank you to God for everything he's done and still doing.
Deborah, you see, has had a lifelong heart condition, one that required a transplant a couple of years ago.
Did you guys want a sleeping bag?
Once back on her feet, Deborah redoubled her efforts to help others.
Did you get one? Not yet.
Not slowing down.
There you go.
Even as that new heart is showing signs of rejection.
I don't want to say I was born to lose, but I've had a lot of hard knocks. The minute I bring...
Deborah is able to laugh because she feels she's living on time she didn't earn. It's time God granted her. And while she doesn't know how much more of it she has left...
You're welcome.
She does know exactly how she wants to spend it.
Why did you choose a 55-year-old, a woman that has messed up so much and has done so many things that were unworthy of a new heart? Hello. He knew that I was going to go and give back and that I was going to use it for exactly what he gave it for me for.
Just to give you one more indication of how dedicated Deborah is to what she's doing, she won a community service award that came with $15,000 for her. Now, even facing her medical challenges, she's decided not to use it for herself. It's
of course
the money she used to buy those sleeping bags.
That's incredible.
Remarkable. She is such an incredible person. Thank you, Garvin.
It's all right, we'll just leave this on. It's real, right, guys? So anyways, I've known Deborah a few years. Deborah knew me when I was in federal prison. And between her and James, I used to write them letters. She showed me they kept all my letters I wrote while I was in prison. But today is about Deborah, who has also been to prison. She's been to more than one prison. If you saw in the clip, they mentioned prison briefly. And I wanted to have Deborah come on the show today to tell you how she's turned her life around since being in prison. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what got you into prison, what prison was like, because I get a lot of women out there that are getting ready to go to prison, and they don't know what to expect. Mainly I get men on the channel, so you'll be like the third woman I've had. I need more women. So anyways, I'm just going to let Deborah talk, and we'll ask her some questions along the way. Hi, Deborah.
Hi. Hi, Sean. Hi, everyone. So what questions do you have?
So tell us about what caused you to go to prison.
The disease of addiction. I was addicted to crack cocaine. I also had petty theft with priors, which was my very first prison stint. And I believe that was in 1998, where I got my first prison stint at Chowchilla State Prison. I got out, and I went home, and I told myself I was never going to do that again. And I ended up going home, making a son, which I have a beautiful 25-year-old son today. But immediately following after, when my son turned 1, I relapsed. And that brought me back to Valley State Prison on 3 different occasions after that.
These are California prisons?
They're California prisons in Madera, California. Yeah, it smells like cow patties.
Can you remember your first day in the first prison you went to?
I do. I cried all day. I cried the whole trip there from the county, in the bus there. It kind of irritated everybody else that was in the car, but, you know, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't think that I was prison material, and I knew that I just had a problem with drugs. I didn't know that that problem was going to steal my freedom, and that's what it did. And, you know, upon arriving there, you know, it's very degrading that they strip you down to naked, they check you, they do the cough and squat and the whole thing to make sure you don't have anything on you, and then they stick you in a cell until you go into receiving. And when you first get there to receiving, it's a 2-man cell. And you're in that 2-man cell while you do a lot of different testing. They test you for TB, they mentally test you, they send you to the doctors, you get scholastically tested, and then they place you somewhere on another yard after you are, God, I can't even remember what the word is called, but after you've already been, they know where you belong. So for me, because I have a lifetime of health conditions, I went on a medical yard, which was B yard, and, you know, that was...
So, was it dangerous? Did you,
Well,
fights?
my first prison stay...
Think of the woman that's just getting ready to go to prison. She's scared to death. She doesn't know what she's getting into.
So I made the mistake of getting in there and being kind of prima donna prissy, in the sense where the bathroom was below my standards. So I asked the correctional officer for some cleaner, and he came in the room and he said, "Don't we give you guys cleaner every morning?" And what followed that was he left the room, and I got pulled off my bunk by my hair and beat up. And the girl that was a lifer said, "You might have come in here doing 16 months, but you're going to leave in a pine box."
Wow.
And she beat me up pretty hard. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to get in even more trouble. And I was stuck to my bunk all night long. I had lumps all over my head where she had punched me a bunch of times. And then, you know...
This is your cellie?
Yeah, it was my cellie. And then in the morning when they called everybody out for breakfast, you know, apparently the room across the hall had seen what happened and told the correctional officer. When they asked me and questioned me, I said no because I was scared.
Right.
And the girl, basically when the girl beat me up, she said, "You know, you basically invited the police into our room, and we have contraband." And contraband to them was cigarettes and eyeliner. You know, I think they might have had a radio too. But, you know, when you're on the receiving yard, you don't have any of that. If you have it, you're getting it through the scullery. You're getting it in ways that you're not supposed to. You know, but I didn't know these things.
You didn't know. You're new.
I'm new to the game, and, you know, I had just started. But as I got moved over to another yard, I had 2 lifers that were my roommates, and, you know, I would get duped all the time. So I would undo the lock to my locker, and the next thing you know, I'd put it on my bed so I could go through my locker, and somebody switched locks with me. And so when I came home from being at my little job that I had at PIA Laundry, my locker was empty because they switched locks with me. And then, you know, I was protected. Actually, my first stint, my mother paid someone to protect me.
Really?
Because she was worried after I got beat up, being with my health condition and stuff, that she, you know, and the officer, one of the officers said to me, you weren't worried about your health when you were out there in your disease. And, you know, so there's that side of it that says some of them feel sorry for you, some of them know you're a human being, and some of them look at you like you're nothing but a number. And I was definitely not a number. That's not what I was. I started going to NA meetings in the prison.
Is that Chowchilla?
At Chowchilla, and I would go to the yard and walk the yard every day. I'd go to the library, and I'd go to church on Sundays because it was a way to get out of my cell and to go anywhere but where I was.
So you had a 16-month. Did you get?
I did 16 months 4 times.
4 times. Wow. 4 times.
Yeah. I actually was baptized in prison. Yeah, I have the certificate.
How was the food? Do you remember a typical meal?
Well, I worked in PIA laundry, but then I got switched to PIA kitchen, so I had the best of food. You know, I mean, we did chicken, real, you know, chicken legs and chicken, whatever, breast stuff. But we had access to all the, I remember trying to steal food. Trying to put the food down my pants, they search you, you know. You drop the food on the ground, the officers would check you and take away whatever they felt was contraband before you get back to your room.
Wow.
And then, you know, I was getting boxes, and we would make food, special food, like nachos and things like that.
Spreads,
so,
all that
yep,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know what a spread is, but it's basically what, the ramen noodles with whatever pieces of meat and
Doritos
yeah.
and, beans.
Yeah.
You put all that stuff in. They can even make cake in prison. It was amazing.
When you order commissary, did you have any money on your books to get commissary?
I did because my mom was a good codependent to my disease. She had a lot of guilt. So my mother parented out of guilt from not raising me. I come from a family of addicts. And so she made sure that I always had boxes coming, money coming into commissary, which, of course, there was restitution. So they would take a portion of it and then give me a portion.
Yeah, in the feds, guys, they take 25% of any money sent in. That, so just so you know, in the states, I think in the state prisons, I think they take half, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody puts $100 on your books, you're only going to see 50 of that. In the feds, you'll see 75. That's how they do it. Yeah. Some people don't know that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, I was pretty well taken care of while I was in there. And I think that might have caused a lot of my problems because there was people that weren't as lucky as I was. So I had a TV sent in from Walkenhurst, and, you know, I had tennis shoes that were my own that my mother sent in. My mother would send me a box, and if the box didn't, if things didn't work out, I'd make her send me another box. And,
but that's a state thing. So I know in the feds you can't have that, but in the state was like a 35-pound box.
There's 4 quarters. Yeah, you can have a box every quarter.
Okay. Because I know some people.
And I don't know how it is now. I haven't had to be in prison since 2003, by the grace of God. But
I've heard now they can't send the outside box. They got to go to a special website and order
that creates the box
from a
normally.
special, like, you know, prison website that's everything's improved, and it's. You pick the items, you shop online, but the box is packed and, you know, shipped from that website. So you can no longer go to, you know, send care packages like that. They've changed it because too many contraband things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember at visits, people getting contraband, and it would change the atmosphere of your room. So your roommate would go on a visit, and then they'd come back, and they probably had given some kind of drug, and then the next thing you know, either you need to leave the room because they're doing something that is illegal in the room and they don't want anybody in there, or like I had 2 roommates that were lovers, and they would say, you have to leave the room because we want some alone time, And so I'd leave the room. You know, I mean, it was either that or get beat up.
So what can a woman do in prison to change her life for when she gets out? Can she start doing things while she's locked up?
You can go to meetings. You can get in contact with like service league type places that will, you know, help you while you're in there. I had a sponsor that was sending me step work. You know, so I was doing step work for recovery. And like I said, I was going to the meetings there and I was going to church. And I stayed out of everybody's business. So when you're there, you will eventually figure out who's doing the right thing and who's doing the wrong things. The ones that are getting written up, I think they were called 115s. And, you know, so I always stayed away from those people only because I wanted to go home on my given date. Some people don't have a date, and they're jealous of the ones that do. So you really have to be careful because you don't tell anybody your date. Because sometimes if people know you're going home, they're going to change that for you. And with write-ups, fights, whatever it is, you lose your good time, work time. They take it away from you. And, you know, I think nowadays, I think it's like you're an 85%er. So what used to be half-time now is you do 85% of your time.
That's, the feds are like that, 85%. And I've heard of the people doing 20 years. You come in, you got a year and a day. They're not, we're going to make it at least 5 years because there's jealousy. There's, you know,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They take your date. That's what they call it. We're going to take your date.
So, like, in my prison, there would be some guys that are so jealous that you get a visit every week and you got family writing you letters, people putting money on your books. People would go out of their way to sabotage that because they have nobody. Did you see that kind of thing?
I did here and there. It wasn't so prevalent as where I was. You know, I had some pretty good roommates, and the ones that weren't good ended up getting themselves in trouble, so they got taken out of our room. So I would get my letters, but, you know, I mean, for a moment while I was in prison, I thought I was gay maybe because, you know, all you're around is females and some of them look like guys, you know, and then the CO, I was on a phone call with my mother, and they listen into your phone calls. And I didn't even know about that until the CO says, step over here. And I went over there, and she said, you're not gay. And I was like, what? She said, I heard you talking to your mother. You're not gay. So
not only do you listen, they just get right up in your face.
Yeah, and they tell you, like, no, you're not gay. I was kind of a pet at prison because I liked going above and beyond. So when you're in the receiving yard, you don't get any privileges for the phone or anything else. So what I did was I got on the yard crew, and I would mow the lawn in 100-degree weather in Madeira just so I could get phone calls every week.
Oh. Earning privileges,
Yeah. You get to go either your kitchen or there is no laundry there, so it's either kitchen or yard crew. That's the only two jobs that you can get on a yard, is what they call it.
Do you get paid at all for that?
No.
Just
you get paid a phone call.
You get paid a phone call.
And so I would always make it a point, because I was a repeat offender, to immediately get on the yard crew. I didn't care what I needed to do. I just wanted to, you know, and sometimes you get friendly with the COs, and they know you, they remember you. When they see you, they're like, oh, are you back again?
Remember you?
Yeah, do you have a job for me? You know, and they'll hire you again.
So you're like a returning customer. And
yes. And I remember one of my roommates had said to me, she was a lifer, and she said, I don't know what makes you think you're better than the rest of us. You're doing life just like me, but you're doing it on the installment
plan. I've heard.
And I thought, oh, you dirty rat. You know, and that really hit home for me because it was true. I don't know how many holidays I would call home, and everybody was going on with their life, and Christmas, and my son was getting older, and I was locked up. I was missing out on all of it. So I would go through bouts of depression where I wouldn't want to get out of my bed. But, you know, immediately when you get there, once you're over the wall, as they call it, you program. And if you don't program, then you start losing your time, your good time. So I always made sure that I got a job, and I would drag myself to my little job, whether it was laundry or kitchen. But, you know, in the PIA positions, they pay you. So you can actually earn money while you're in prison.
Okay. Feds start you off at 12 cents an hour. Eventually, some guys get up to $40, $60 a month they make.
Yeah.
And then there's Unicor. I don't know if you guys had that. Some women's prisons have. I interviewed a girl named Brittany. She did 411 calls when you call 411 for information, and they paid her like $100 a month. But that was the.
I know there was people that had more time than me because I was always what they called a short timer. Okay. Because 16 months isn't that much. So you know, like I would do part of my term, and then right before I think. They would always put me in pre-release class, right? And I remember going to a Gordy Graham, and he said, choose your rut carefully because you're going to be in it for the next 30 years. And that kind of stuck with me as well.
When did that stick with you? Which time in prison did that stick with you?
That was like number 2, but obviously I still had the same behaviors. And when I'd get out, I'd go return back to the same friends and do the same things, and I'd get the same results. Same results. Yeah, I wanted to get to that part. There was guys I did time with. So I was in a program called RDAP. You get up to 1 year off your sentence, and it's a year-long program. So if you have 3 years or more, they'll give you a year off your sentence. But if you're only there for 2 years, you get 6 months off. And there was guys that would refuse it. And I'd ask them, why aren't you taking RDAP? You don't want the 6 months off? They'd say, no, I'm going to wait till next time when I come back and I get the whole year off. And their logic made sense because they knew they were coming back. But next time I'll have like a 5-year sentence, it'll be worth getting the year off. So I'll save it. Yeah. And that's how you know what I mean? That's that revolving door, you know? Yeah. I don't know how many times I had to talk to my son over the phone lines from a state prison where it would, during the call, it says, you're getting a call from an inmate at a California state prison. You know, and my son was like, what's that, Mommy? I was like, oh, you know, I'm away at school. You know, I'm learning something. You know, I was embarrassed and ashamed of where I really was. But, you know. Yeah, so what do people tell their children? They're getting, people are getting ready to. In the feds, a lot of people will get the chance to be on pretrial. In the state, you don't even know you're going to prison. They arrest you, put you in a county jail, you go through court, and you don't get the little time to prepare for prison, but you do talk to your family. What advice do you have for women to tell their kids before they go to prison? Should they be honest? That I did something wrong. Should they be honest? See, a lot of times it depends on the age group. Yeah. If they're at an age where they can comprehend, it's always best to be honest because the one thing that we don't want is our kids to go down the same road as we do. Right, and make those same mistakes. Because if they see something, we might glorify it, like it's, oh, I'm doing this, or I'm away here. I remember saying to my son that I was away at school. You know, I wasn't at school. You know, I was away in L.A., and when he got to a certain age, I actually got a letter. And when the CO handed it to me, she said, you're going to want to read this letter alone. Oh. And when I went in the room to read the letter, it was my son saying, Mommy, why do you keep using drugs and going back to jail when you know it's wrong? So he knew what was going on. It was me who didn't know what was going on. It was me who was confused about what needed to be done. You know, and then there were, of course, in the letter, there was a picture of me behind bars. And I thought, wow, okay, you know, so. Kids are getting bullied and picked on and you know, their social media websites when their parents are in prison. I hear it all the time. The organization, Wings for Life, they have to deal with kids getting cyberbullied and all that. And well, when you come from broken families, that happens a lot. Hi, your mother's in jail, your dad's in prison. When I was younger, before I ever started getting in trouble, my mother, like I said, was an addict, and my father was a missing parent because he was an addict. And, you know, we'd have back to school night and people would say, where's your mom and dad? How come they never come? You know, how come you live with your grandma and grandpa? Those are questions that I didn't have the answer to at that age. And then later it would be like a deadly secret that would take me out every time because I had a different family And then, of course, I gravitated towards the other kids that had lived the same lifestyle.
That's
as
what I
me.
did. I found all the kids from divorced homes and alcoholic parents and all that.
My son did the same thing.
I found the kids with the bruises on their back too. You know, oh, you fell down the stairs like me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I found those kids, and then I ended up in prison too. So let me ask you, the third time, the fourth time, when did it click in your head that I'm going to change my life? When did it? You know, when did you actually know you were going to
2003
break it?
was my last prison stint. And like I said, I had some theft in my past. So it was a lot of petty theft with priors. And my final prison stay wasn't me going and using drugs. It was me wanting to be this person in society that was able to do a Christmas. So I went to Safeway Christmas shoplifting for Christmas dinner because I had invited some people. And then what happened was I get arrested, I go to prison. When I'm calling from home on Christmas, because I was already shipped off, those same people were at my mother's house having Christmas, and I was locked up in prison. And so I thought to myself, this is crazy. I can't do this anymore. I can't keep sacrificing my freedom to keep people happy or to try and be somebody I'm not. If I can't obtain something the right way, then I don't need it. You know, those same friends that were there at my mother's, on my third prison stint, I had written a lot of letters while I was in there. And, you know, I used to write my mom at least once a week. But I also used to write these friends, so-called friends. And when I got out of prison the third time, I went to their house, and we were all doing what we do. We were drinking and getting high. And I was cleaning, and I found the letters all unopened. They never even opened the letters. And that kind of let me know that those weren't even my friends. You know, it's like these people, I was good for now. I wasn't a good friend. I was good for now. And when I wasn't there, no big deal. Life went on. You know, I was part of the hustle, part of the way for them to make money. You know, I thought I was one of them, you know, but it wasn't, but I wasn't.
I mean, you find out who your real friends are when you're in prison, but you also found out after. God, to find the letters unopened, that's, I mean, how, God.
They didn't even bother to open them. I was like, wow, my feelings were hurt. But, you know, obviously, but it still remained that those same friends were at my house on my fourth term, eating dinner with my parents, and I was locked up.
Yeah, you were locked up. Wow.
You know, and I think my mom felt bad because I got arrested in our local, where my mother shopped all the time, Safeway.
So the last time you got out of prison was 2003?
Yes.
So it's about 17, 18 years you've been out of prison now.
Yes.
So do you remember how you started your journey to not go back, what you did to change? This is the part I hope you guys are listening.
Well, I started going to meetings. I started going to church. I go and I give back to the homeless. 10 years ago in 2009, I moved from where I was because it was an unhealthy environment for me, and I moved to San Mateo, and in San Mateo I immediately found a church that did a meeting called Higher Power. That meeting then made me want to have to go to church on Sundays because I was trying to find a new life and a new way of thinking. I got a therapist because I needed to figure out why did I keep sabotaging my life over and over and over. And in the interim, what ended up happening was I found out who I really was. I was born to serve. You know, I like giving back in my community. I'm now the president of the Kiwanis Club of the Greater San Mateo. These are things that I never thought I'd ever be able to obtain. You know, president of anything.
I know now you sponsor women. You go to meetings like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
You're always there to help.
Secretary meetings. She also is the property manager for Sober Living Houses, one of them that I live in, and she's helping people find a place to live when they get out of prison, when they get out of recovery homes, when they get out of treatment, or even off the streets,
you're helping. You do so much. And you saw the video, guys. She's got all kinds of sleeping bags and tents and everything here, water, everything right in front of me. I know you go every Sunday and other days of the week. You go down to the worst neighborhoods in San Francisco.
Yeah, I go to the Tenderloin in San Francisco. So, and that's where I usually like to do that. And I go to Redwood City to the different homeless encampments as well. They do have something called Street Life Ministries down there, which I serve at once in a while. I'll be there on the 24th of November. But I go down to the homeless encampments every Sunday and I pass out 80 meals. So it really works for me because it keeps my soul fed. And as long as I'm happy, then my life feels like I'm doing my life's work. That I'm not just wasting away here on this earth. I'm here to live, not just to exist.
Do you think somewhere along the way in prison, something clicked in your head that made you value life?
Yeah, the fact that I had lost my freedom, that somebody was telling me when to eat, when to sleep, when to turn out the lights, when to, go to work, when to get up. There was no such thing as sick days. Here's when you get to eat. This is when you go to the chow hall, and then of course there was those days where there'd be a fight and then lockdown. Nobody's moving anywhere. And then you are stuck in a cell with the 7 other people, and they start to get on each other's nerves.
That's when you get reminded you're property.
I was a number.
Yeah.
I was 56707, and when I gave that back, I was 78371. And you know what? Those numbers will be burned in my memory forever.
Yeah, I know. 18649-111. Yeah. Count time. I know. Stand up for count. Yeah, I remember. I'll never forget it.
When you're taking a nap in the middle of the afternoon and they're tapping on the window. Hey! All I was waiting is for a release ducket. And I don't know why, because I kept going back. So why would you anxiously wait for something if you're not going to cherish it enough to not want to come right back to that same situation, right? And that's where recovery steps in and changes life. If that's your problem, if it's gangs, you stay away from those people. They don't love you. If it's, if it's an abusive family, then you just don't. You have to cut people out of your life. Anybody that's poison to your life or that will sabotage your happiness, that's where you remove that person or that place or that thing from your life.
Would you be willing, if there's a woman on here that's going to prison that would want to write you while she's in prison?
Absolutely. I'd be a pen pal.
Okay, so I'll put her link on there. They have an email service in the feds now, so they can email you.
Nice.
Yeah. It costs 10 cents a minute, but anyways, it is what it is, but they do have email now.
People are worth 10 cents a minute.
Phone calls are free now in feds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 500 minutes a month free. That's something they just started, so because of the pandemic, but they're going to keep it that way. I don't know if you guys know that one too. So
nice.
Yeah. So also, Deborah hasn't talked about it, but I don't know if you feel comfortable, but if they watched this far, they know about your heart condition. Maybe you want to talk about. She shouldn't be here right now talking to me, guys. But God had a plan, so she should be. I'll let you explain that.
So I was born with a transposition of my great arteries and a heart murmur. And at the age of 7, I had my very first surgery. I had a pacemaker put in. And then what followed that was 9 different surgeries to have pacemaker batteries changed. At one point, they put in a pacemaker defibrillator. And when that battery died, they put in another pacemaker defibrillator. And then in 2018, that defibrillator shocked me because my progression of my heart disease was getting worse. And then in 2019, 2018, they said they were thinking about a transplant. They did the evaluation. They said, no, it's not time yet. In 2019, I ended up in the hospital in heart failure 8 times in the month of, throughout from January to August. And then in August, they said, we'd like to put you back up for the evaluation for transplant. On October 6th, I signed the paperwork for transplant, and on October 10th, I got the call for a new heart. I had a heart transplant with a lot of complications. My kidneys failed. I was on dialysis. I got out of the hospital a month later to find out that I was CMV positive, which is cytomegalovirus. I got it from my donor. And then in December of 2019, I got coronavirus. And then in January of 2020, I got something called nocardia. And the nocardia created fungus in my lungs, and I went into the hospital for some routine testing, and they noticed that I had a low white blood cell count, and during that time they said, we're going to send you home, but first we want to give you a shot. They gave me a shot of something called Neupogen. The Neupogen made me code because my body was allergic to it, and I ended up on life support. So in February of 2020, I was on life support. When I woke up, it was March, and I couldn't walk, and I was in a diaper. And I stayed like that until September of 2020. So it's been a little bit over a year that, that I've actually been back into action. I got out of the long-term care rehab facility that they had sent me to, and I hit the ground running, and my whole mission now is just to help, to be there for others, to continue to worry about my health. I'm currently in rejection. At the end of this month, I'm going in for some testing for a biopsy and an angiogram. And, of course, I'm very nervous, but you know what? I live on borrowed time. And this morning I said that to my son, and my son said, Mom, it's not borrowed, it was given. Yeah. So, maybe out of the mouth of babes comes the truth. And sometimes I sell myself short that it's borrowed, but it's not, because my higher power gave me this time. He gave me a new heart. I got the call within 4 days of signing the paperwork. So this is where I'm supposed to be in life. And I think he saved my life so that I could go out and give back. And so that's what I plan on doing till my last breath.
That's pretty much, I can testify every word she said is true. This lady brings tears in my eyes every time I tell the story. Deborah, just thank you for being who you are. I'm so glad that you didn't, because I was just getting out of prison when you were, in a hospital, and I'm so glad I had never met you in person yet, only through the letters that through
You mean the pictures we had of you with the guitar in the federal prison?
Right. So I got to finally meet you because her and James would send me letters and put some money on my books and stuff. And you're just a blessing. Thanks for doing this interview. And I guess we'll end it. But do you have any last words of any right? What would you like to say to the women that are about ready to go to prison that are watching this?
Just keep your nose out of everybody's business. Kind of stay to yourself and try to find ways to learn to enhance who you are naturally. So when you're there, do some reading, go to the library, get some books, feed your mind, because it's really easy to get caught in the grip of what happens in prison, which is, are you on this side or that side of people? Are you in a gang? Are you that person? If you stay to yourself and kind of just lay low and quiet, you'll be fine. You'll be fine, and obviously if you have family, make sure to cherish your family with everything you've got. Write your kids often and stay in contact as much as you can, and love yourself.
I like that. Thank you, Deborah.